name is Janet Parker. I'm a founding member of Jews for Palestine and a member of Friends of Palestine WA, and I'm going to be emceeing the rally today. But first I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. This land was never ceded. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And as always, I want to acknowledge the links between the occupation and the colonisation of Aboriginal land and the occupation and genocide of the Indigenous peoples of the lands of Palestine. Both people have experienced mass cultural erasure, land theft and colonisation, and for both people the genocide continues. Today we gather on International Women's Day. Woo! It's a day when around the globe communities take stock of both the achievements and the ongoing struggles of women for equality and justice and peace. Today, however, I think we can all probably agree that we are further from equality, justice and peace than ever. We are bearing witness to a widening assault on the lives of the people in the Middle East, and both the death toll and the injustices continue to rise. On February 28, we awoke to the news that Israel and the US had begun bombing Iran. An illegal, unprovoked war of aggression. Netanyahu has said their goal is to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran.
Hypocrite, warmongering bastard!
What threat, you ask? Didn't the International Atomic Energy Agency complete thorough, on-the-ground investigations and conclude that there is no program to manufacture nuclear weapons in Iran? Didn't the Omani mediator say that Iran and the United States were close to an agreement on the future use of Iran's enriched uranium? Iran has publicly committed, repeatedly publicly committed, and also publicly committed very recently, that it has no intention of building a nuclear bomb. Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel isn't. Iran has allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors into its country. Israel won't. There is only one terrorist outfit in the Middle East with nuclear weapons, and that terrorist outfit is the State of Israel. Israel and the US haven't even made a
Where were you when 40,000 Iranians were massacred on the wall? We're here for women! We're here for Iranian women as well!
Shut the fuck up!
Women love freedom!
Shut the fuck up!
Women love freedom! 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 Women love freedom!
Israel and the US haven't even made a pretense of targeting nuclear facilities. After assassinating key government leaders, including Ali Khamenei, they have been targeting homes, medical centres, schools and Iranian Red Crescent facilities. If this is sounding familiar, it's because it's the same MO as Gaza. So when next Netanyahu and or Trump say they are creating the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their destiny into their own hands, our question must be, how? How are you achieving this? By indiscriminately murdering those very same people. In fact, it is about Israel pursuing urgently at a time when Trump's fortunes are declining and they can see the window closing, the opportunity to achieve their Eretz Israel, their greater Israel, taking over the land of bordering countries. They want a neutered Iran. They want regional hegemony. They want to expand Israel's borders to Palestine, to Lebanon, to Syria, and beyond. And while the world focuses on Iran, Israel tightened its genocidal siege on Gaza, closing all the crossings and preventing aid from entering. Famine looms once more. For close on 2.5 years, Israel has executed what Francesca Albanese described recently as one of the cruelest genocides in modern history in Gaza. We also know that despite an agreed ceasefire, Israel has perpetuated a slow, grinding genocide in Gaza, killing over 600 since the so-called ceasefire was announced. Make no mistake, Israel seeks to erase the Palestinian people. We see this in their clear targeting of women and children, in their destruction of fertility clinics, of maternity wards, the obstruction of aid and medical supplies necessary to reproductive health. Of the conservatively estimated 73,000 deaths in Gaza, it is reported that some 60 to 70% comprise women and children. Well, today, for International Women's Day, we have an impressive lineup of difficult women.
Woo! Yeah! We're all bright time! Globalize the Intifada!
Today we celebrate difficult women. Difficult women who will play a crucial role in shaping our future. A future characterised by peace and justice. Our first speaker today is well known to you for her leadership in the fight for a free Palestine. Hiba Farah. Hiba is a diaspora Palestinian originating from both Gaza and Jerusalem. She's an advocate for the Palestinian cause with a legal background. Hiba is the Vice President of the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network. She's involved in Mums for Palestine and is also the current chair of Friends of Palestine. Thank you, Hiba.
Woo! Never stop being difficult, Hiba!
Marhaba everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are meeting on the land of the Wajak Noongar people. I pay my respect to their elders past and present. This land has never been ceded, was, is, and will always be Aboriginal land. We have always known, even without saying it out loud, that our connection as Palestinian to the land of Palestine is like the bond between a mother and her children. Hurriya, freedom. Muqawama, resistance. Intifada, uprising. Karama, dignity. Izza, pride. These deep Arabic words share two things in common. They are the fuel to Palestinian strength, but more so in Arabic, they are all written in the feminine form. As a mother, I know that the loving weight of responsibility motherhood brings. As a Palestinian, I know that the responsibility is doubled. The responsibility of connecting our children to their land, despite exile. Tied to it like a lifeline that has also become the justification for death sentences. Palestine herself also is a mother. Every day she bids farewell to her children, who either return in coffins or are kidnapped by the reality of displacement. Like Suzanne Abul Hawa writes, we come from the land, give our love and labor to her, and she nurtures us in return. When we die, we return to the land. In a way, she owns us, Palestine owns us, and we belong to her. The most precious and pure part of our Palestinian society is motherhood. And the entities that seek to destroy it knows this very well. She has been imprisoned in Israeli prisons. She has given birth at gunpoint at checkpoints. She has been targeted in airstrikes, but she has raised generations who understand that for the sake of the mothers of tomorrow, there is no other choice but to resist. Today, as women around the world celebrate, our hearts turn to our sisters who have had their womanhood weaponized by foul colonizing entities.
Yay!
From the First Nations women who have had their babies stolen on this very land, to the young girls in Tehran bombed by the US as they played in their schools, to the women kidnapped by ICE in the US.
Yay! Fuck the patriarchy!
More than 28,000 Palestinian women and girls that we know about have been killed in the past 2 years by the Israeli war machine in Gaza. Thousands remain buried beneath the rubble, waiting to be recovered and mourned. And now, many else have been killed in order to protect that entity.
Yay!
Today we remember. Today we remember the mothers, the daughters, the sisters, the widows, and the orphans. The teachers who nurtured minds, the journalists who spoke truth, the doctors and nurses who helped the wounded. Women whose lives were cut short, but whose dignity and courage endure forever. In Palestine, a mother carries her child twice in this life. First, as a baby, wrapped in white cloth, gently rocked to sleep in her arms. And then years later, when that same child is returned to her, now a grown man wrapped in another white cloth, killed by and for a colonial war machine. My grandmother was a Palestinian woman. She buried her husband in 1948 and was forced from her home with her 5 children. Yet her blood runs in my veins, asking to be returned home. Through her words, I could smell the jasmine of Palestine without ever seeing it. I could taste the oranges of Jaffa without ever holding them in my hands. I could walk through streets of Jerusalem without ever setting a foot there. That is the power of Palestinian women. They carry the homeland within them and pass it from one generation to the next. But today, we are reminded that the grief of women in our region knows no border. Today, we are also meeting against the backdrop of something deeply alarming, a brutal and unacceptable attack over sovereign nations. Israel, with the backing of the United States, has chosen to start yet another war on Lebanon and Iran, even while negotiations with Iran were still going. They attacked because they believe they can, because they believe they are untouchable, because they believe other nations will either support them or remain silent.
Shame on Australia!
And sadly, we do not have to look far to see the silence. Our own government has chosen to support this war.
Shame!
When asked what the support is based on, the response was chillingly simple. Whether these actions comply with international law is something for those carrying them out to determine. But we support them regardless.
Shame!
Shame. 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 We have heard this story before. We are reliving the logic that led to the Iraq war. Except this time our government is supporting Israel's destruction of Iran and Lebanon. And once again, it is ordinary people who pay the price. The empty desks of Iranian schoolgirls now speak the same language as the empty beds of Gaza children. Their mothers cry the same cry known to every mother who has buried a child under the shadow of war. Perhaps, however, this is why those who fear justice try to silence the voices of women. Because a woman carries memory, she carries truth, and she threatens to carry the future. They may imprison her, they may try to silence her, they may take from her the ones she loves most, but they cannot break the bond between a woman and her land. Because as long as there are Palestinian women growing young seeds into olive trees, this isn't the end of our story. For we know that 1917 didn't end the story. 1948 didn't end the story. 1967 didn't end the story. 1982 didn't end the story. 1988 didn't end the story. 2009 did not end the story. And 2026 will not end the story. Generations after generations of women, Palestinian women around the world, whisper stories of Palestine every night to their children. And their children know that Palestine is going to be free, from the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever! Glamorize the Intifada!
Well, while all eyes have been on Gaza for some 2.5 years, Israel's assault on the West Bank has proceeded apace. Many of us will have heard, indeed will have seen on our phones, homes being bulldozed, thousands of trees being uprooted, farms and water pipelines being destroyed, arson attacks, pogroms against many cities and towns by armed settlers with military-grade weapons. Last month, the Israeli cabinet approved plans that allow Israel to overcome what has been described as the last remaining territorial obstacle to the completion of Israel's colonial project in Palestine.
War-murdering bastards!
Here to tell you more about the current situation in the West Bank is Diana Ebian. Diana is the daughter of a Palestinian mother from Jenin in the West Bank and a descendant of refugees with no right of return. She is the co-founder of Liberty Sip, the sole distributor of Salam Cola, which is an ethical alternative to mainstream cola brands. I want to welcome Diana. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Diana Bayan, and before I begin, I acknowledge that we are gathered today on Wajak Nongda land. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I honor the deep and ongoing connection Aboriginal people have to this land. This was, is, and always will be Aboriginal land. Today is International Women's Day, and I stand here as a Palestinian woman and a mother. I have never stepped foot in my homeland, not because I don't love it, but I have no right to return. Nor did my parents. I was born in Jordan, moved to the UAE with my family where I lived most of my life, then moved to Australia. I was blessed. I recognize the blessing and I don't take it lightly. I built a life. But with this blessing, I know comes responsibility. Responsibility to speak up, to stand up, and to appreciate my voice and my freedom and speak up for the people who don't have it. I'm raising 2 Palestinian boys, beautiful boys. They travel to see their father's family regularly. And every time they have to go and travel, when they have to go, I smile, I hug them, I wish them a safe trip. But the moment they leave me, my heart breaks. And I cry, and I have nothing but trust in God to protect them. Because once that plane takes off, I know that I am sending my kids to a place that is under military occupation, that is apartheid, that supports a system that supports ethnic cleansing and settlers, illegal settlers attacks with no Before their last trip, I actually spoke to their father. I told him I was afraid for their safety. Situation is not safe. And he said something to me that really stayed with me. He said, Diana, this is our story. This is our land. And our kids need to go live it, learn about it. They need to know who they are and where they come from. How can I argue with that? In fact, how can I stand here today and say free, free Palestine if I am not willing to give everything I have to free Palestine? According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, just last year, over 250 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank, and 23% of those people were children. Thousands were arrested since October the 7th from the West Bank. This is not politics to me. This is where I send my kids. This is where my kids walk. This is fear no mother, no woman should bear. So we need our voices to be louder. Because while I worry about my kids traveling to the West Bank, there are mothers in Gaza that are not just worrying. They're literally watching their children die under bombs and bullets and hunger and lack of medicine. They are themselves hungry. They're exhausted. They're scared. But they live it every day. The world has gone mad. What sense of safety do we really feel right now? Because the same so-called world leaders who speak about security are waging illegal war that will affect us all. Some people will feel it through missiles and bombs, and others will feel it through rising bills, economic pressure, and instability. And the truth is, this system survives and thrives on division. Powerful pedophile elites do not truly care whether you're white, whether you're brown, whether you're black, what God do you worship. They don't care. Religion and race has always been tools, cards that they use to divide us, because when we are divided, we're weaker, and that makes them stronger. Fear your neighbor, they tell you. Hate other communities, they look different, they pray different, they eat different. This makes them stronger. But the truth is way much simpler. We all are conceived the same way. We all feel happy, angry, sad. We all grieve the same way. We bleed the same way. And we all will die one day the same way. What unites us is far greater than what divides us. And that unity scares the powers the most. Because unity means awareness. Unity means education. Unity means compassion. Unity means courage. And unity means sacred anger.
Woo!
Yes, it means sacred anger because we need the kind of anger that refuses injustice. The kind of anger that demands dignity for everyone. The kind of anger that pushes us to organize, mobilize, stand up for everyone who's in need.
Woo!
The kind of anger that makes us difficult for them to control.
Woo!
On this International Women's Day, we must remember the women in Palestine, the women who give birth at checkpoints, the women who go visit their kids in prisons, the women who are in prisons, the women who bury their children and wake up next day and keep going.
Woo!
So let us remember this. Until women in Palestine are free, until women in Iran are free, until women in Syria are free, until women in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Congo, in Sudan are free, are we truly free?
No!
So say that with me. I have it on my t-shirt. No one is free until we all are free. Say it with me. No one is free until we all are free. No one is free until we all are free. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river.
Palestine will live forever!
Thank you very much.
Diana. I want to say, before introducing our next speaker, that just yesterday, Gillian Siegel chose her candidate to head the university report card process on anti-Semitism. She chose a guy called Greg Craven. Greg Craven is the former VC of the Australian Catholic University.
Oh, it's Craven lunacy!
Is a regular writer for News Corp, the Australian newspaper. And indeed, in 2023, Craven had a go at the Go8 universities saying they dissed Western civilization. And after the Bondi shooting, said universities had been a major factor in making anti-Semitism respectful.
Shame!
Greg Craven referred to campus groups as mutant radical groups.
Shame!
Well, as the NTEU representative, Dr. Alison Barnes, said in response to his appointment yesterday, Craven has spent many years using his platform to attack the very institutions and people he is now supposed to be assessing impartially.
Smash the patriarchy!
We know that this is about shutting down pro-Palestine activism. And I wanted to take this chance to say that the movement must come behind the students in 2026, as their right to continue to speak out and organise around Palestine will come in for a very serious onslaught. The movement in all arenas is going to come in for an onslaught, and the attempt will be to silence us all. We will not be silenced. Our third speaker is Rojin, an Iranian, Australian and socialist activist involved in Students for Palestine WA. She was involved in the university encampments for Gaza, was one of the organisers of the nationwide student referendums that brought out thousands of students across the country to vote against universities' complicity in genocide. Please welcome Rojin.
missiles. Every morning, every afternoon, every night, every waking second of the lives of Iranian people, they hear and see bombs raining down on them by the US and Israel. Bombs rain down to flatten hospitals. Bombs rain down to turn houses into rubble. And bombs rain down vessels of death and destruction on schools. Shame! They rain down on elementary schools. Just like 6 days ago, how in Manab, Israeli bombs, American bombs landed on 10-year-old girls going to school. One morning at 10 a.m., these girls put their clothes on, put their backpacks on, they headed to schools with smiles on their faces, ready to learn, ready to make friends, but they were flattened by Israeli bombs and turned into ash! Their limbs were detached from their bodies, their arms and their legs were scattered across rubbles, and the ones that remained intact were buried under rubbles, and they were suffocated to death when no one could hear their screams. But for Israel, for America, this wasn't enough. Killing 180 10-year-old girls was not enough, so they waited. They waited until ambulances came. They waited until panicked parents came. They waited until firefighters and first aid responders came onto the site to help, and then they decided to fire another round of missiles. They decided that it doesn't end there, that they will expand their barbarity on the schools in Iran, on the hospitals, on across the Middle East, in Lebanon, where they're now carpet bombing the south of Beirut. Just in the past week, 300,000 Lebanese people imperialism will not end in democracy. It will only end in more bloodshed, more slaughter, and it is our job to come out in our hundreds, in our thousands, and stand against it. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine! Israel!
Hey, how many kids have you killed today? I'm not sure that Rojin mentioned in her talk that there is a national student strike for Palestine that is happening this Wednesday, March the 11th, at Forest Place at 1 p.m. So if there are students in the crowd, or if you're not students but want to come and support that protest at 1 p.m. Here on Wednesday lunchtime, 1 p.m, come along. I'm sure they'll welcome your presence. So, many of you will know of the many thousands of Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. Palestinians in Israeli detention camps are subject to systematic torture. Many are held without charge, while those who are charged are routinely denied fair trials. The conviction rate of Palestinians in Israeli military courts is over 99%.
Yay!
Most recently, Israel has developed and is progressing a bill in the Knesset that will introduce the death penalty for Palestinians only, not for Israelis. The preparations include the construction of a Green Mile facility to carry out the hangings, with groups of 3 volunteer executioners simultaneously pressing a trigger. You may have seen pictures of Israeli government ministers in recent times wearing a gold lapel badge of a noose as they anticipate the passing of this law. It is unbelievably obscene. Prisoners' rights groups have called this an unprecedented act of savagery, and the bill has been condemned by Amnesty, by the United Nations, by many, many more. Our next speaker is an organiser of the 1 Million Signatures campaign in defence of prisoners in Israeli occupation prisons. Randa Siksek is an Australian-Palestinian engineer, an academic and activist, and the granddaughter of Palestinians exiled from Jaffa and Gaza. Thank you, Randa.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I would be amiss if I didn't pay tribute, although the previous speakers already did, to the Palestinian women who are still experiencing childbirth under the rubble in tents, the Lebanese women displaced from their homes with their children, living in cars because of the terrorist state of Israel, the women in Iran, the ones who are in solidarity with their government, and the many who are not, both in unison, calling no to American hegemony, no to Israel hegemony, no to imperialism, standing hand in hand with each other in this very difficult time. The 178 girls, primary school girls, that were massacred by the terrorist apartheid regimes, the rogue states, the United States and Israel. Shame. I also want to pay tribute to a woman whose video touched many last night, a Kuwaiti woman in Kuwait who her husband had just died, and she did not turn around and point the finger at Iran. Instead, she wrapped herself with a kufiya, got down on the street and said, "You are not welcome here. Take your bases and leave our country."
Make it go home!
anti-AUKUS. We know what's coming for us. We know what's coming our way. But also the women in Gaza feel her pain. Many of them have lost their husbands. Many of them have suffered imprisonment, and we've seen them come out. We've seen what they've told us has happened in prisons, which I won't mention because we have children amongst us. But the torture that they've seen, the humiliation, the degradation that they've experienced. 10,000 Palestinian humans are in prison today without medical aid, without clean water, sufficient food. They're being neglected. We've seen them come out, go in as young people, come out, if they ever do, frail, tortured, and the world has forgotten them. But not us. Not us. We have not forgotten them. Palestinians never forget them. It is what has kept the Palestinian cause going, that they do not forget their prisoners, and they will never leave a man behind. But out of all of those men and women, there are 360 children in those torture chambers who are not allowed visitation, not represented by legal aid. They have no charge, no trial, and in there almost indefinitely, some of them forever. The feeling that those mothers who have experienced jail now see their children in there and there is nothing they can do. The flaw of humanitarian rights is to have the Red Cross visit them, document what's happening to them. That is the flaw. That is the minimum that we should be asking for. So I ask you today to sign that petition. I know you might say, we've signed petitions, we've walked, we've done this for 2 years now. What is the point? I'm not going to lie, I feel it too. Protest fatigue, petition fatigue, exchange fatigue. We all feel it. It is real. But this is what happened. I want to tell you where our hopelessness comes from. And I want to talk about the Australian-Israeli Jewish Affairs Council. This is not a small operation. This is a well-oiled machine in Australia. 200 Zionist organizations, 200 serving a population of 100,000. There is a reason for that. It is because they have control in our media, in our academia, in our civil society. They call themselves an NGO, yet the ties and the funding that is funneled reciprocally between the terrorist apartheid state is ongoing and has never stopped, and that's what keeps them in this country. Their ties to this apartheid state, apartheid entity that is currently before the ICJ for charges of genocide. But this is not cynicism, it's clarity, because last month, all of you across the nation stood here and said no. You said no to Herzog. You said, Herzog, you're not welcome here. You said, no, Palestinians are not human animals. Palestinians are not animals, or as Huckabee said, being drawn to the feeding stations. They are not. Shame. You said that Palestinians are humans who deserve their dignity, and you stood firm and you said no.
People united will never.
And what did our government do? It laid out the red carpet, welcomed Herzog with bright colors. A slap to everyone who walked these streets, who marched these streets. A message to all of us that our solidarity with the oppressed is somehow un-Australian. But then what happened? Herzog went home, and Herzog said that he felt unwelcome. Who did that? You. When you chatted from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
it counted. When you marched, it counted. When you showed up week after week, fatigued, tired, and furious about what's happening to us. It counted. It counted. Not because our government is listening, it is not. We know that it's not. But because Herzog felt the weight of your rejection.
As Randa said, there is a petition down here, a QR code, where you can sign on to the 1 million signatures campaign in defence of Palestinian and Lebanese prisoners in Israeli occupation prisons. So please do so. We also have a few of these being distributed, I think, around the crowd. So please make a point of signing on for that campaign.
We had Australian kids in prison. Australia in prison's kids as young as 10. Shame on Australia!
So speaking of kids, many of us saw the film last week, The Voice of Hind Rajab. This was, without a doubt, the most devastating film I have ever seen. It is, however, a film we must all see. And if you missed it, know that on March 24 there is a screening at Luna Leederville organised by the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. That will feature a panel discussion with Dr. Mo Mustafa and others. See the Luna webpage for details, but I think it's 6:30 from memory. The reason I mention this now is that to conclude our speakers today, we are going to hear from a long-standing advocate for Palestinian rights, Hannah Meggar. Hannah has performed spoken word poetry at many of our events in the past, and Hannah's work goes to the heart and soul in a way that the voice of Hind Rajab went to the heart and soul. It made you sad, angry, and defiant. Hannah is a mother and a teacher and will conclude our presentations today, preparing us to march with love, with grief, with defiance, and with hope in our hearts. Thank you, Hannah.
Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessings be with you all. I want to first acknowledge that we are on Wajak Noongar land, and as such I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. This land was never ceded and it is and always will be Aboriginal land. This poem is titled Women Like You and Women Like Me. If you are a mother, you know what it is to wake in the night to the sound of your child crying, and there's no denying that instinct, that pull to run to them before you're fully awake. It crosses every border, every language, every background, every faith. Now imagine that sound is not crying, it is a bum, and you are running through the rubble, searching for their face, and you cannot find them. That is the reality for mothers in Gaza and now in Iran too. But we did not choose this fate. It could have been me, it could have women today, then let us speak of the mother whose milk came in after her baby had already been killed. Let us speak of the woman searching hospital floors for her daughter's shoe. Let us speak of the girl who should be revising for school but instead knows the sounds of drones better than she knows birds, because this is what we've decided is acceptable in this world. Let us speak of the widow, the orphan sister, the grandmother burying bloodline after bloodline. Let us speak of the mother whose tent could not fit her 6 children inside, but who held all 6 of them in the palms of her hands as ashes when they died. Let us speak of Rania Abu Anza, who waited 10 years to carry her twins, 10 years of praying, waiting, and had Naeem and Wissam for only seconds before they too were ripped away. Let us speak of Sharuk, who gave birth with no anesthesia and named her daughter Salma. Salma, which means safe, because that was the only thing left to wish for. And I am tired of evil in suits and ties, tired of colonizers speaking the language of peace with genocide in their eyes, tired of hearing self-defense while women and children are pulled apart, tired of hearing human rights from empires with no human hearts. Iran's foreign minister wrote alongside images of freshly dug graves from Gaza to Minab, innocents murdered in vain, and I want you to hold that line, from Gaza to Minab, because this is what impunity looks like when the world lets it run unchecked. It continues to spread. It doesn't stay in one place. It finds new schools, new names, and it will keep finding them until we make it stop. So talk louder, much louder. Refuse to scroll past. Refuse the silence they are counting on, because these are women like you and women like me, and we will not stop. We will never stop until they are free. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
from the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. We are now ready to march, and I'm sure you feel, as I do, sufficiently angry and full of grief, but also full of rage. We will march our usual route, which is out here into the mall, to the right into the mall, left into William Street, left into Hay Street Mall, left into Barrack Street, and then back into Murray Street Mall to return here. Thank you everybody for coming today. I just want to, a couple of reminders. The Political Prisoners Campaign, here is the details. There are also flyers circulating in the crowd. There are also, one part of the campaign is a red ribbon campaign. There are red ribbons available both in material and metal form for purchase over at the Friends of Palestine store. And also, just for those, one thing I don't know if we mentioned, was the speed with which Anthony Albanese supported the assault on Iran. Australia was the first government globally to stand in solidarity with this horrific assault on the Iranian people. So, this Friday, 5 p.m, there is a protest outside Anne Ali's office in Wanneroo Road, Westminster. Again, there are flyers circulating in the crowd. If you can make it, please show up. If you can make it this Wednesday to the student strike here at 1 o'clock at Forest Place, also please make it. Thank you so much for coming. Let's march. Woo!